You know those stories you see online sometimes? The ones that are just these incredibly detailed, almost movie-like tales of family betrayal and then this epic, satisfying revenge? They feel so real, right? Well, it turns out there's a reason for that. There's this deep need we all have to see injustice get what's coming to it. And these viral stories, they follow a powerful, repeatable formula that taps right into that need. So let's break it down. Let's look at the anatomy of what makes these stories so unbelievably good. This one sentence right here, this is basically the whole formula in a nutshell. It is the absolute key. See, the story isn't just about hurt feelings or, typical family drama. The entire narrative pivots from the messy, emotional world of being unloved to the cold, hard, provable world of being defrauded. And believe me, that distinction matters. It's everything. And to really get how that shift works, we're going to look at it through a classic 5-act structure. Because this isn't just a story someone tells, it's a playbook. Each act builds on the last, ratcheting up the tension and leading to this incredibly satisfying payoff. It's a formula that just works, every single time. Okay, so it all starts with Act 1, the unfair setup. Now, the whole point of this first part is to lay the groundwork to establish this really deep, long-standing sense of injustice. It's all designed to make you, the audience, feel the crushing weight of years and years of mistreatment, so you have absolutely no doubt who you're rooting for. And right at the heart of this setup is this classic toxic dynamic, the scapegoat versus the golden child. The stories paint this really vivid picture of our protagonist as the family's invisible workhorse, the worker bee. But most importantly, they're the personal ATM, constantly expected to pay for a lifestyle they never get to enjoy themselves. And the difference between these two roles could not be more clear. On one side, you have the scapegoat, whose every success is ignored or even made fun of. On the other, you've got the golden child, the entitled princess, who gets all the money, all the praise, and has never had to work for a thing. This isn't just being unfair. It's a deliberate, systematic process of breaking a person down. And this quote just perfectly captures the feeling of Act 1. It really drills down into that feeling of being completely used up, of being seen not as a family member, but as utility. The injustice is set, our empathy is locked in, and the stage is now ready for a huge turn of events. And that brings us to Act 2, the criminal betrayal. This is the moment everything pivots. This is when the family's awful behavior escalates from just being hurtful and emotionally damaging to being straight up illegal. And this part is designed to make the audience absolutely furious. Right. And we have to be super clear here. We have left the world of family drama. We are now talking about serious, provable, actual crimes. The story makes it a point to say that these aren't just little white lies, these are felonies. And the scale of what they do is just staggering. It usually starts with something that's both a financial crime and a deep personal betrayal. So, for example, a sister steals $47,000, but not just any money from a credit card that was opened specifically to pay for their mom's medical bills. The level of trust broken there is just immense. But then it gets worse. The protagonist's own father steals $85,000 from a fund that was meant for their future. You see the pattern, right? The crimes are always committed by the people who should have been the most trustworthy, which just makes that feeling of violation 1,000 times worse. And then you get to the life-altering theft. A house worth almost $500,000, a gift from a grandparent that was literally stolen from them by their own family. At this point, the betrayal is absolute. It's financially devastating, and it's completely unforgivable. And the stories, they ground all of this in real-world consequences. They often name the specific crimes, wire fraud, forgery, identity theft. This makes it all feel so much more real and severe. The family hasn't just been cruel. They've literally become a criminal conspiracy. So after that devastating betrayal, we move into Act 3, the silent architect. This is where, instead of having some big, messy, emotional breakdown, our protagonist does something brilliant. They make a strategic choice. They go completely quiet. The victim disappears, and in their place emerges a cold, methodical, forensic auditor. And they follow a very specific playbook. First, they document everything. Every text message, every voicemail, every social media post is saved. Then they start recording conversations. They print out every bank statement, find every single forgery, and organize it all into what one protagonist called a case file 3 inches thick. This is basically a covert intelligence operation. But what's so critical here is the patience. This isn't some hot-headed, impulsive act of revenge. No, this is the long game. The protagonist spends months, sometimes even years, silently building an airtight case, all while their family thinks they've gotten away with everything. And that long, quiet wait just builds this incredible sense of anticipation. This line perfectly captures that mental switch. All of the emotion is just removed from the equation. Hurt gets transformed into data points. Betrayal becomes evidence. The protagonist is no longer reacting to what's been done to them. They're preparing to act with absolutely overwhelming force. Which, of course, leads us to the part that everybody has been waiting for. Act 4, the public reckoning. This is the catharsis. This is the release of all that tension in this perfectly planned, totally public takedown that is engineered for maximum cinematic impact. So, think about it. The case file is 3 inches thick. The family is all gathered together at some fancy event at the peak of their arrogance, completely clueless about what is about to hit them. The big question is just hanging in the air. How is this possibly going to end? And then, the protagonist drops a line just like this. And, with that one sentence, the power in the room completely flips. They're not there to start a fight. They're there to end one, on a stage their family unknowingly built just for them. It's such a chilling moment of pure control. And the takedown? It follows a very precise script. It's always at some big event, and after the family insults them one last time, the protagonist just calmly takes the stage. First, they reveal their own secret, massive success, which just stuns everyone. And then, the evidence comes out. Bank records, forged signatures, audio recordings, all of it displayed on huge screens for hundreds of horrified family members, friends, and business partners to see. It is just total public destruction. Which brings us, finally, to Act 5, Justice and Freedom. This is the aftermath. This is where we see the consequences, which are swift, total, and completely irreversible, and it all leads to the protagonist's ultimate liberation. And this table gives us the final accounting. For the family, the results are just catastrophic. We're talking arrests, bankruptcy, complete social humiliation. Their lives are ruined. But for the protagonist, the outcome is crystal clear. They get justice, they get financial security, and more than anything, they get freedom and peace. The scales have finally been balanced. And this is the note these stories always end on. The protagonist walks away not as some vengeful person, but as someone who simply demanded accountability for what was done. They weren't trying to punish. They were trying to correct a massive wrong. And that leaves them, and us, the audience, with a totally clear conscience. But all of this does leave us with one last, really interesting question to think about. In these incredibly public takedowns, stories that are shared and read by millions of people online, who is the real audience? Is the revenge actually for the family who did the betraying? Or is the true audience all of us, watching it unfold from behind our screens?